Okay, today we're going to be looking at, is your bike right to convert to electric using a hub motor? So if you're considering converting your bike over to electric, there's a few things that you need to make sure before you start, and just to make sure the bike is actually compatible with a conversion kit. So first things first, if you take a look at this gap in the frame there, so this is a large frame, but mediums are good as well. So the battery needs to fit along this down tube here, and then you need to have a little bit of space left over for the controller to fit in the controller bag, either down the back or sort of hung underneath there. I've got a battery here, I'll just show you. This is a 48 volt 13 amp battery, just for scale, if you can see that without my arm. So there you can see, fits like quite nice and snug in there, but there's plenty of room either side, and then you've got enough room for the controller above it. There's plenty of ways to mount that. Something else that you absolutely need to have when you're converting your bike to electric using the hub motor is, you see the axle here, it's a dropout like that. So your bike axle will look something like that, if you can see the quick release there. You can't have the bolt through axle, so that would, on a bolt through axle bike, this bit would be a complete circle, so that would be a loop like that, and then so that would stop you dropping the hub motor axle in like that. If you look just here, the gap between there, this is standard mountain bike axle width, which comes to about 130 to 135 millimeters. So the hub motors are set at that width. So standard, all your standard mountain bikes will be 130 to 135 millimeters there. So let's take a look at the brakes now. This bike here has got hydraulic disc brakes, front and rear. If you're going to put a high powered kit on the bike, you want a good bit of stopping power, so hydraulic disc brakes are good for that. Mechanical will be good as well. If you're going to use V-brake type brakes, you need to just take note of the rim shape and style. So if you see, I've got two different motor wheels here. This rim here, if you can see along there, it's got a V-brake strip, so that's fine for V-brakes. Whereas this one here on the 1500 watt motor, it's a different style, different shaped rim. It's rounded, so you won't be able to use a V-brake on that. But again, I probably would recommend using a disc brake on it anyway, just for the extra stopping power. One thing you'll find with a lot of electric bike conversion kits, they come with a set of brake levers. They're for a mechanical disc brake, so that's the one with the cable that comes out of the brake lever, whereas this is the hydraulic, the oil one. So it's not compatible with hydraulic brakes, but don't worry about that, because you don't need to put them on. They're quite an ugly looking thing, and you don't need to have them on the bike. If you take a look on the tyre wall here, you've got some measurements. So you've got 27.5 inches by 2.25 inches. So the 27.5, that's your wheel size. Now the way it's measured is measured from the bottom of the tyre to the top of the tyre. It's the full tyre. This is just so when you're ordering, you can order the correct size. If you can see that, that's 27.5 inches from the floor to the top of the tyre. Because some people sometimes will measure incorrectly, and they'll measure the actual rim rather than the full wheel. So if you look at the 2.25 there as well, that's the tyre width, and 2.25 is a good sort of mountain bike tyre width, and it works well with these rims that come on the conversion kits. Another thing that I've seen people concern themselves with a little bit too much is, generally speaking, your conversion kit's going to come with a 7-speed freewheel. Now, if your bike has more than 7 gears on the back, like this one does, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's not a problem. So the solution around this is you've got low and high adjusters here, and basically you just adjust the derailleur. To lose 1 gear generally is going to be the one from the top, which is your loosest gear, and you'll find yourself in the highest gear 99% of the time. Anyway, I don't remember the last time I changed out of the highest gear on my bike. So let's take a look at the pedal assist. Now, the traditional area for it to go is just behind the left crank arm, in between the crank arm and the bottom bracket. There's many different ways of fitting these, and a lot of sort of sections down here and bottom brackets and bottom bracket cups are all quite different. So there's a few different ways you can do it. One thing I will say on it is, if you're not aiming to make the bike road legal, i.e. 250 watt on a pedal assist, you're better off with a throttle anyway. I think they're just nicer to ride and a little bit more fun. And then as well, this can be quite a bit of a mess about, but I'll do it just for the video and for the road legal users amongst us. So here's one type. I'll show you this one. This one's a good one. It's got the, you see the spin in there? So that's got the magnet rings and the sensors all built into one system. So literally with that one, you just take the crank arm, pull the crank arm off, slide that over the bottom bracket shaft, the crankshaft, and then back on again with your crank arm, tighten everything up, and then run your cable away into your controller. That's probably the easiest one. Then this is your more standard one, comes with a lot of kits. So with this one, the aim is to take the crank arm off, take the bottom bracket cup off, fit this ring around the frame there behind the bottom bracket cup, tighten the bottom bracket cup back on, which holds this nicely in place, and then you need your magnet ring, which then goes in between the crank arm and where the bottom bracket sensor's just been placed, and that'll sit nicely behind there, and that's how that works. There's another way. I've got another version here. So this one, a little bit different. It's sort of called a easy install pedal assist system. So how this works, so this is your sensor. So that goes onto there, and if you can see there, you can zip tie it to the frame there. So basically that means that you don't have to put this behind the bottom bracket. So that goes there on the zip ties, and then you've got this ring here. It's a bit bigger, it's not quite as pretty, but it works by, if you just pull it apart like that, so then you can loosen the crank arm off, pull it back, and then clamp that over like that, put it together, and then there's a ring there that just sort of locks and holds it together. Quite a big ring, but that's one of the easier ways. But there's always a way to put your pedal assist on. In fact, I've got another one actually here. This one is one that I butchered. So I couldn't get it behind the bottom bracket cup. So I snipped it and I bent it up, and then I put a zip tie through there, so it just sat it there, and then I had a zip tie run around there, and that held it in place, and it worked quite well. But there's always a way you can put a pedal assist on if you want it on there. So in summary, get yourself a nice hardtail like this, plenty of space in the frame there for the battery and the controller. Make sure you've got the correct dropouts where the axle is. You can't have a bolt through axle on, and if you're doing a front wheel conversion kit, you can't have bolt through forks. Make sure you order the correct conversion kit wheel size to the tyre size that you have on the tyre wall. Don't worry too much about installing the brake levers and the pedal assist, and yeah, just try and get a decent spec bike, good brakes and decent tyres if you can, and so on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this bike. I'm going to make it a 48 volt 1000 watt rear wheel conversion kit, a 13 amp battery, and I'll pop some pictures on this video for us. Cool.